Well, when I tell people I'm from New York, they always assume it's New York City, but then I have to say I'm from upstate, but it's not technically upstate. But I'm from a really gorgeous area in the Hudson Valley, right on the Hudson River. Well, it was great because we did a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of mountains, so we went hiking a lot, took dogs to the lakes, always playing outside. Yeah, so I suffered from a terrible tomboy phase. I wore basketball shorts and basketball shoes and had really short hair and wore the sweatbands and was a really big tomboy. I mean, my entire childhood is sports. Like I grew up playing pretty much every single sport, and it kind of is just who I've been my entire life. So my sister and I both grew up playing, recreation soccer, recreation basketball. She took the softball side, and I never played that sport, but I grew up playing soccer my entire life. I was probably around 8 years old when I joined my first travel soccer team. So my coach suggested I try out for cross country or just, run to maybe stay in shape while I was playing intensely with the soccer team. And it was in the 7th grade when I ran cross country for the first time. And then in the 8th grade, the varsity coach from the high school brought me up to run varsity cross country for them. And then in the 8th grade, I was the #1 cross country runner at my high school out of all. I wasn't even in high school yet. I was still in 8th grade, and I was beating 12th graders and 11th graders. Up in New York, fall season was soccer season, and then spring season was track season. So I was still able to play soccer, then run indoor and outdoor track, and then that was the next big decision was, okay, am I going to try getting recruited to play soccer, or am I going to try getting recruited to play track? So while I was looking at schools, I looked at both the soccer programs and the running programs, and then I think I came to Charlotte on an official visit, and it was kind of one of those things where you step on campus and you're just like, I want to be here.
Playing soccer at the college level might not have been her calling, but becoming a runner for the Charlotte 49ers was no mistake. However, the transition wouldn't be an easy one.
So that was the biggest transition, was then going from the training that I was used to in high school and then the training in college. And then I remember the first cross country race, I was running and I was like, why am I doing this? But, and then you come from high school where you pretty much know your competition and you know who's good or you know who you're going to beat. And then coming into college, you don't know a single person, and they're all at college level, so that means they're all talented enough to be running at college. It was hard in cross country because I, didn't really see myself as a cross country runner. I, always was here for track, so it wasn't until really track season when I was like, okay, I can do this. I can be a Division I athlete. I can beat these girls.
Making the necessary adjustments to be able to stand a chance against her competition, Rachel would also have to make more adjustments as she chose to travel across the world to study abroad.
It was the fall of junior year. I went to London, so I redshirted my cross-country season and went to London.
She was studying abroad, so she had already talked to Ed about going over to London for cross-country in the fall, and he was okay with that because, we were decent at cross-country, but it was more of us getting in shape for track. So I guess he was okay with that. And then we got a new coach, and she was like, well, I'm still going. She already scheduled everything.
I had heard these stories, Gibby is very intense, very different than Ed. And I already thought he didn't like me because of the fact that I left. And then I think he was going to be, a little less tolerant with me when I got back.
But it was a whole semester went by, so I think like I said, kind of transitioned into Gibby's training, and she had no idea what it was going to be like. So she came back for indoor, and we started running workouts together.
I think that's what the hardest transition was then coming back and then readjusting to the practicing 6 days a week, the hard workouts, the 24/7 lifestyle of being an athlete.
Well, I feel like I knew two Rachels. I knew the Rachel in January that had run about 1 month of the previous 8, and whose fitness level was not good. And she really struggled out her indoor and outdoor track her last year, her senior year, if you will, because of that lack of fitness.
Coming back from London, Rachel was able to adjust herself back into the American lifestyle. Having done that easily, there was one thing she did not account for that would rear its head as she got back into running.
One race, I guess it was not our indoor conference race, but it was an indoor race at Alabama earlier in the season, and I just remember she did not have a good race, and she was just like, I don't know what's going on, like something's wrong. And I was just like, I mean, you were gone a whole semester, like, you know, I just kind of tried to encourage her and be like, you know, you'll get back into it, like we're always feeling kind of rough in the beginning, but you know, we'll get that speed once outdoor comes, like it'll be fine. I raced with a girl for 4 years, like she was not the same as she normally was, so I knew something was a little off with her.
I also found out halfway through my outdoor career that I was severely anemic. So I think there was a bunch of miscommunication and frustration between Gibby and I.
She had a little bit of iron deficient anemia, and which for a middle distance runner is just an absolute killer.
He was like, what's wrong? And I was like, something's wrong with me. Like, this isn't normal. Like, I care, like I'm trying, but it's just the results are not there. And I've been back for a while now. Like, I know I'm in shape. I'm not even running close to the same time that I ran the first race back. So, like, something's wrong. And then that's when we found out that I was severely anemic.
Sometimes you can recover from it pretty quickly. Unfortunately, by the time the signs really reared its ugly head, so to speak, we just had a limited amount of time left in the season in which to fix it, and we weren't able to.
Over the summer, Rachel made a successful, healthy comeback from her anemia. As she got back into the rhythm of things, there would be yet another obstacle in her way.
The Monday of the week going into Conference USA Championships, we were racing that Saturday, and we were running a small workout.
I was walking back from class, and I saw two of the freshman guys walk up, and they go, "Oh, did you hear about Rachel?" And I was like, no.
And we were a mile into the workout, and I rolled my ankle so badly on this one little trail.
She was like screaming and yelling, and like I think she's at the hospital now. And I was like, oh my God, like what could have happened? So I guess I texted Gibby and her, and she didn't get back to me right away, but I guess Gibby didn't want to say anything either because he didn't know exactly what had happened, and they just wanted to like see before they said anything.
And I knew immediately that something was wrong.
And I know I saw the x-ray somewhere. I don't know if I was supposed to, but it did not look good.
And then it turns out after the x-rays came back, I had fractured my ankle. And this was the Monday going into the championship. So there was just no way I was going to race at the championship race. And that was the one thing I was actually looking forward to this season.
And she was getting more and more excited as the season goes. And I would probably say my biggest regret with her in the fall was the fact that, she broke her ankle the Monday before the conference meet.
Despite the severe ankle injury, she was ready to make a decision with Coach Gibby about the rest of her running season.
Gibby and I sat down, and he's like, look, this type of injury takes 4 to 6 weeks to heal. Regionals is in 3. Like, do you want to do this or not? Like, I understand completely, it's an injury that you want to get healed. And then I was just kind of like, I want to run, it's my last season ever. I want to run a race. Like, I want to be at the championship race with my team.
I think in the back of our mind, both of our trainer and coach mentioned regionals is 2 weeks after conference, so you might have some time to get back into it. So she started running again, and she came with us, and she was like, this is my last race ever, and yeah, I'm not feeling as great as I should be.
As long as you don't irritate the fractured tip of the tibia, you can train. And she was able to kind of get through the initial uncomfortable stages on an unstable ankle.
There was no doubt in her mind that she was not going to run it. She wasn't going to go up all the way up to Virginia, do the pre-meet on the course, and then just not do it.
Despite the fact that things weren't perfect, she wanted to go out and compete. She just wanted to find out.
Her decision was final. She would run at the regional cross-country meet on an injured ankle. However, the course would decide how painful the run was going to be.
I remember that morning I woke up and I was excited. Like, I was nervous, but it was kind of one of those things like, you just have to do it. Don't think about it. Just go race. Keep in mind, this was probably the hardest course in all of cross country, probably the hardest course we've ever raced on.
It's just a very difficult course. It's on a farm, and the footing's terrible. It's on a slant. You're either running up or down. It's the most difficult course we saw.
And as soon as we took off the line, we usually stay together for a little bit, like in a pack or whatever. But I didn't see her from about 10 seconds in. She was not there.
The gun went off, and I remember we came down the first downhill, and I landed really wrong on my foot. And we were maybe a mile in.
And it was just for her ankle, she was out there defending the whole way rather than being aggressive and racing.
You want to stop, but you can't, kind of thing. It's one of those, when you're mentally struggling, the physical part gets even harder. So you have to be mentally strong to get through the physical part.
So yeah, I think probably the preeminent word I would use in terms of what I saw was she was out there suffering.
My parents were there cheering me on, Gibby was still there, cheering me on, and I knew I was 800 meters out, and that's when I was like, okay, just put your head down and run. Just get there as quickly as possible, get this over with.
And then I just remember finishing and, looking back and her not being there, and then waiting and her still not being there. And then, she finally finished and came in, and it was just she just looked hurt, and it was, it was hard to see.
I was sad. I really was. I couldn't stop crying the moment I finished, just because, you don't want to end your season that way. You don't want to end your career that way. And it was just, there's no way to prevent it. There was no way to stop that from happening. And it was just kind of one of those things where I was upset, but then knowing, having my coach come and sit next to me and saying, I am so proud of you. Not many people would have ever done it, and I'm so proud of you for doing that. That's when I felt good. I was like, you know what? I can say that I just raced my last cross-country race on a fractured ankle and feel on top of the world. So it sucked, but at the same time, it was kind of happy knowing that I did it, because I think I would have hated myself more knowing that I didn't do it.
It was unfortunate that the regional course was precisely what she didn't need on that ankle. And it's not the way any of us wanted her to go out, but at the same point, I think there would have been far greater regret had she not tried to capitalize on all the work she had done.
Although it wasn't the most ideal way to end her last cross-country season, she maintained a positive attitude and started looking ahead into the future as far as running goes.
Just having her there and having someone that I was so close with off the track, there with me through something we both love.
Well, no, I'll miss her personality. She's a competitor. She, in my estimation, she was very even keel. Very professional in the way she went about her business in the afternoon. I'll just miss having her personality. She was definitely a contributor to the foundation we're trying to build here.
So I took a lot of time off to really heal my ankle, and then now I'm training for a marathon. I'm running a marathon in March with my dad, because we always kind of agreed we'd do one together. So yeah, now that's what I'm doing. I'm still running, and running even longer than I've ever run before.